All right, we're going to move on to Colin's Corner. It's the time for a little bit of reflection. We've been talking a lot about vaccines and stuff. It is funny to make fun of that. It is a very serious issue, though. There's stuff about it that's funny, obviously, the way it gets presented. You know, like when Trump called coronavirus the Chinese virus, that was, it just made it sound like it was some weird game of Chinese whispers. Like you'd say a person had a virus, they'd say, and they'd keep telling it, and then it gets back to you and turns out that Epstein didn't commit suicide. That's crazy. We have to accept the fact that conspiracy theories are always going to be here. They've been here since hundreds of years ago. I mean, there would have been people when they heard that Titanic sunk that was just like, nah, man, doesn't make sense. Icebergs don't melt steel beams. That is a reality. But it's like, man, do conspiracy theories, does that actually do anything? I don't get it, apart from create some of the world's worst websites. The kind of people, they're just like, oh, the government's trying to discredit you. It's like, no, champ, your Microsoft Paint job did that yourself. Even trashy magazines don't use Comic Sans. Why are you doing that? Do you know what I mean? Just so people can be like, oh, the CIA is doing all this terrible stuff. The news is scary, but the font is fun. It's just a fear. You know, we have this fear of being targeted. It's crazy. People are always like, the government's trying to get me. The government, boomers will say that to millennials a lot, but in a reversed way. They'll be like, oh, you guys are so self-absorbed, but the world doesn't revolve around you. It's the Illuminati, and it revolves around me trying to find out the secret to my lawn. That's... my dad is terrified of facial recognition technology. It's dude, you grew up in the 50s. You used to use baby oil as sun cream, okay? You've had skin cancers cut out of you every week for the past 30 years. Just be glad you've got a face to recognize. And it's nuts, conspiracy, the level of ego it takes to think the government is out to get you. The girl in high school who halfway through a class would just randomly go oh my God, are you guys talking about me? It's fuck off, Katie, no one's read your blog. No one cares about that, but it's crazy because people tie their sense of identity to these ideas and they get so invested in them, and when the ideas potentially get proved to be false, then their identity by association is also proved false. No, Tracy Stanton, aged 48 from Queensland, the government isn't trying to get you because of your radical social media feed. The government's not trying to hold you down. You haven't discovered some giant conspiracy. It's you couldn't even figure out which of your birth control pills were the sugar ones. This isn't... There's nothing the government could do to you that you haven't done to yourself by getting married at 21. Behind this is a fear. That's why we push kind of conspiracy theories, what people do. But the fear comes from a really awful place. It can manifest itself. The idea that vaccines cause autism, and the idea that there is something inherently wrong with having autism, autistic people, is disgusting. That's an awful thing. Some of the best human beings we've ever had have had autism. Albert Einstein did, Nikola Tesla, Isaac Newton. They all had autism, and it's they were still good people and contributed to society. They might have needed a little extra help sometimes, but don't we all? That's the crazy part about that. And it's surely self-induced genocide is worse than having a few extra people who aren't that great with karaoke. Do you know what I mean? That's the reality of it. And autistic people, I know a few. I have a biological brother who has Asperger's autism, and he's one of the funniest motherfuckers ever. They're so funny. They say funny shit all the time. They're such a hoot to be around because they have no filter. Imagine a Gemini that you actually wanted to talk to. We have this sense of fear, which is creating the idea that we want to push these things. And it's dangerous because the news has become a form of entertainment. And we need to realize that. They go out of their way to dramatize the news and make it more exaggerated so we feel more fear, so that they get more people watching and they make more money. Which is why it's so important that we have publicly funded broadcasters, because it removes the financial incentive to dramatize news and make it more ridiculous. Yes, the ABC is boring as fuck, okay? And yes, I only ever watched SBS when I was 16, halfway through a foreign film just to see some titties. That's what every 16-year-old did, but they're necessary. We need those things. Not the the titties are good. Yeah, I get it. Okay, yeah. No, they're also good. What a triumph. I think she was a maid or somewhere in the countryside. She was trying her best, yeah. But we actually need these things, which is why it's so important to restore funding to public broadcasters, because we need to be able to understand that sometimes telling people the truth is actually making them feel less danger. Sometimes telling me the absolute truth where they feel I can trust you will make them feel safer and result in less people following conspiracy theories. And I think that's what we need to understand. So I hope we can get some change behind this. I hope we can support some more public broadcasters. Please check out the ABC and fuck anyone who tries to cut money from it. That's just a real dog move. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming out tonight.